Welcome to the Bountiful Chest. I am Shadow, and I was asked to talk about computer RPGs or CRPGs. Well, there's actually quite a few of them. Of course, there's plenty of D&D ones. You probably heard of Baldur's Gate, one of the more popular ones. There was also Icewind Dale and a couple others. I actually think Planescape Torment was one of the most interesting ones they've ever made. Uh, you wake up as a guy in a body in a morgue, and one of your companions is a floating skull. There's a lot of weird stuff in that, and if you're interested in finding how weird some of the rules in second edition were, it's a good place to start. Although you might prefer Baldur's Gate, Baldur's Gate is the popular choice, and probably easier to get into. Planescape Torment has a lot of weird things. I'm sure you can find plenty of walkthroughs for both. But there's a lot more. There were a number of games made under 3.5 rules, not just the Knights of the Old Republic using the D20 system. Some of the encounters that are not balanced well, and there's actually that's a reoccurring problem. I'll get to that. Uh, they're neat. They're a great way to see how some of the old rules for older systems were without having to get a group together. But they are limited by what choices they could program into the games. Uh, the Neverwinter Nights games using 3.5, Neverwinter Nights 2, I played a bunch of, that actually has some of the prestige classes that were released under 3.5, but not all of them because there are just so many with all their own unique features. So it would have been a major task to put them all in. Of course, Dungeons and Dragons Online has quite a few too, I believe. I actually never played that myself, but I know there's still a community for that game. All right, so Dungeons and Dragons obviously isn't the only game in town when it comes to uh, computer RPGs. Obviously, there's Divinity Original Sin 2, I believe Pillars of Eternity, and a whole slew of what I'd call the Baldur Gates clones, because they're that top-down tactical view of everything. But there was another style game, and so the Might and Magic series, not to be confused with the strategy games Heroes of Might and Magic. They ran a first person, and they made something like 11 games. Um, I actually got into that on the threes. They made three games titled Three, and they're probably easier than some of the other games, but it all these games have a learning curve. But I would say if you're looking for a Might and Magic game to look at to start, uh, probably seven or eight is a better starting point, and that's where they started. They were starting to do 3D. Some of the 9 and 10 are not as popular. I'm pretty sure it was 8. Day of the Destroyer. You they changed stuff with the class system in that one, but not as drastic as the later ones. You could get a dragon on your team in that one, and uh, completely changed how the game was balanced. Uh, but there are various other ones. There was another D&D that used that first person view, um, was Eye of the Beholder. I played Eye of the Beholder 3. It was, I didn't get anywhere because young me playing that couldn't figure out how to get it out of the first area. But that style has actually survived a little bit if you look into Legends of Grimrock, and I think there are actually a couple other games out there that play in that style, the old first-person turn-based style. And I think it's interesting to look at. And a lot of these games had interesting ideas. Uh, I mean, I am a fan of the Knights of the Old Republic games. Those were neat, even if some parts of them were terribly balanced. They're still worth a look and a playthrough, and I'm being paged by the dog. Uh, some of these have some of them have good replay value on the basis of there are quite a few decisions. The Obviously KOTOR had light side, dark side. Uh, some of the games like Planescape Torment have various groups you can align yourself with. So there's I'm making a video. Ashes feeling starved for attention today. So, but some of the Might and Magics have not very much replayability versus. Can you not be on the squeaker right now? There were ones that, oh yeah, there were a branching path, and there are others that no, it's very linear, and it's not bad to have a very linear computer RPG. Sometimes it's about seeing what kind of party you can create and what you can do in the system versus what's optimal. Like with Final Fantasy One and some of the challenge runs, like all white mages or all black mages. Yeah, but while there, you can find plenty of the games out there, and there are plenty out there now. Uh, but there is a bit of do a little bit of research so you know what kind of game you're getting into. Um, a lot of people like the Pathfinder computer RPGs, but those are a game where the game was designed for you to be using an optimal party, and if it's your first computer RPG and you don't want to use a walkthrough, you might not have a good time. You might have a very bad time. Yeah. Uh, Divinity Original Sin 2, I've heard, has an issue of getting enough experience to level up in some areas. And some of the games, that is the thing. There's a limit of how many mobs you can fight and what the top of experience is. Uh, and there are some that have an egregious combat. Another in the first person vein, the Wizardry games, which that ran quite a few games. Wizardry 8 was one I had that actually has combat really hard scaled, in my opinion. But there was a trick where if you have a lone party that's a fairy ninja and you get past a certain point in the game, you pretty much can beast mode through the rest of the game because you can dodge everything. So there are tricks in some of them, and there are some that are just painful to play. there was one called Dungeon Lords. I thought, oh yeah, this looks neat. And then just getting through the first area was painful. And then finally getting into town and still constantly being assaulted with random combat that is scaled probably harshly and wasn't wasn't my most fun experience. And so if you want to look into some of the computer RPGs, I do recommend Neverwinter Nights 2. I do recommend uh, Baldur's Gate 2, and the Icewind Dales, and especially Planescape Torment. Once you're comfortable with playing around in 2E rules, but unless you're looking for a hard mode and stuff, I don't quite recommend everything else. It's do your research so you know you're not spending your money poorly, or hey, at least buy them on sale. Oh, I'm even forgetting there's Shadowrun games too now. If you I don't know which edition of Shadowrun. There's been at least 6 editions of Shadowrun. Uh Also, it's notable to say Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be in 5th edition rules of Dungeons and Dragons. I don't think anything was made in 4th edition rules. I think they were too busy on planning on, yeah, they were too busy planning on the play online system that never took off. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for me for this video. Uh, I'm gonna take this one. I might talk about a game or two more at length later. Uh, but I haven't played through much of some of these. Might and Magic. I've played through Clouds of Scene, 7 and 8. Uh, but yeah, some of these games have steep learning curves. So don't waste your money on something that you're you're not prepared for. Uh, anyways, have good adventures, and I'll see you all in the next video.